So which of these is poor advice? Poor advice. Initial vote, poor advice. Okay, people are either internalizing the message or really want to be on Facebook. Okay, let's briefly talk about why the correct answer is blue in this case. So mock and stub early and often in unit tests, certainly good advice because the whole power of unit tests is the ability to isolate the code you really care about, and mocks and stubs are a big part of how you do that. Aim for high unit test coverage. Nothing wrong with high unit test coverage. If you're obsessive about it and that's all you aim for, that would be bad. But in and of itself, it's a reasonable goal, right? If you have unit test coverage that's in the high 90s, you should be happy. Sometimes it's OK to use stubs and mocks in your integration tests. Well, we've seen that sometimes you kind of have to, right? If you're testing, if you have an integration test for something that runs against an external service, that's a perfect example of where a stub or a mock makes a lot of sense. You don't want to be hitting the TMDB database every time you run your cucumber scenarios. You hit it once, you capture the results, and it's a pretty realistic playback because it's based on the live site. But having said that, keep in mind that the same pitfalls that apply to your regular test cases apply here. Namely, if I have a test case, for example, a unit test, that stubs out the model, and all of my tests are passing, and now somebody goes and changes the behavior of that model method that I stubbed out. They may have tested their change, but if I wasn't made aware of the fact that the API changed, my test is now going to be assuming an API that doesn't exist anymore. So my test is going to still pass because I'm stubbing out the method. But once I actually run an integration test, it'll fail because now when you remove the stub and you call the real method, the APIs don't match anymore, and boom. So same thing can happen in a service-oriented architecture. We used TMDB. We played some real live requests against it. We captured the output and fed it to fake web. And now TMDB goes and changes the way they return output, or they change something about the RESTful behavior of the API. Unless you know this fact and change your test to match, you'll be in this scenario where all of your tests seem to pass, and it's because you're mocking out the thing that mattered most. You mocked out the interface. So you have to sort of reach a level of peace with yourself about how much you mock and stub, how much you do in integration tests. You always need some. So that leaves the only piece of bad advice as unit tests giving you higher confidence of correctness. It is neither higher nor lower. It's a different kind of correctness, right? It's correctness about code paths in special cases as opposed to correctness across interfaces or across code paths that touch many different pieces. You need both.